Carolyn Louise Jones, married name Davis.
And Carolyn, let's start with your earliest memory.
My memory would be with my parents, and at that time we were living in Florida, in Pensacola, Florida. My father was in the military, in the Navy, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents there, and my extended family, my cousins and aunts and uncles. Those are my memories.
Okay. And tell me, where were you born?
I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, in the Kapi'olani Maternity Hospital.
Awesome. And can you describe to me the home you grew up in and what your neighborhood was like?
Okay. We traveled a lot because of my father's military.
Okay.
So the first one I remember, we lived in the state of Washington. It was right near the south, and I'm trying to think of the name of the town area was called Smilk Beach. We lived there where my father was at the Navy. He was serving there in the Navy there. Anacorta Island in this state of Washington.
Okay. So those are some of your earliest memories were growing up in Washington State, even though you were born
Okay,
in Hawaii.
well, I was there for about 5 years, and I actually went to first grade in a one-room schoolhouse called on Rosario Island School. It was one room with all the children together in that one school, and they had 2 outhouses, one for girls and one for boys.
Wow. And so they had one room for all the grades together.
Yes, for all the grades. That's when I was 5 years old.
Wow. So any other memories you want to share from Washington before we move on to your next?
We lived in that area. I had a little dog, I remember. I can't remember his name now, but I enjoyed having him. And I had some playmates in that area. I just remember it was very, very nice, pretty area. And my father was working at the naval station, and my mom was with me.
Okay.
And I think I spent a part of a year in a nursery school for children.
So did you have any siblings with you?
No, I'm at that point I'm an only child.
Okay. So after Washington, where'd you
go? My father was transferred after. We were at Pearl Harbor. Do you want me to tell about that?
Yeah, should we go back? So before Washington,
yes, go back. Yes,
you were born in Hawaii.
Yes, I was born on December 8th, 1940, and the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1940, and we were living in the naval housing, and my mother was baking my first birthday cake. She looked out the window of the kitchen and saw Japanese planes flying over the housing, and that was when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. My father's had to rescue people and put out fires, and I was only 1 year old. My mother they took the moms and the children to like a gymnasium of a college, and took us all just very briefly, probably I think less than a week, that we stayed there to be away from what was going on. And as soon as they could, they put us on a ship that took us from Honolulu to San Francisco. So it took all the moms and the kids went on that ship to San Francisco. And I remember there were a lot of children got sick. They had measles and mumps and different communicable diseases, and I supposedly had the mumps and the measles at the same time.
Wow. So you were 1 year old when Pearl
I was
Harbor
1
happened.
year old, yes.
And then
Yes, and then when we got to San Francisco, they put us on trains to take us to the places where we were supposed to live while our father was fighting Pearl Harbor, and at the Midway. He fought in the Battle of Midway.
Wow.
And so the moms and kids went to the families, to our mother's family is where we stayed while he was in the war.
So your father was in Pearl Harbor and the Battle of
Yes,
Midway.
yes, he was. After Pearl Harbor, when we got on the ship and left Pearl Harbor, then he was stationed at Midway, and that was the end of the war. But my mom and I we went onto a train, and supposedly the train stopped in Yuma, Arizona, because I had a real high fever because I had the measles and I wasn't well, and they brought a doctor onto the train to check me to see if I was okay and to give me medicine or whatever. So I went back on the train with my mother, and we went from Yuma, Arizona to Pensacola, Florida, and then we were staying with my mother.
I had a little hiccup there with the video. Okay, we're good. We're going again. So you went to Pensacola, Florida. To
Pensacola, Florida, right? That's where my mother's parents lived in there. My grandfather and my grandmother, and then I had an uncle and aunts married their husbands, and I had a uncle. Two uncles and one. Anyway, they lived and came to and stayed in that house. That's my memories of them, of my family there.
Okay. So for most of the war, you were in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we got on a train after that and went to Missouri, where my father's family was there in Missouri. And on the train, I got away from my mother, walked around the train, and she chased me. And when she caught me, I was sitting on the knee of an older gentleman, really nice older gentleman, and he gave me a stick of chewing gum. And my mother came and said, "Oh, I'm sorry to disturb you." And he said, "Don't worry, I have a daughter at my house." And we found out later that nice gentleman's name was Harry Truman. He was a senator, and when Roosevelt died, he became the president of the United States, and he's the one that decided for the bombs to go to Japan.
That's incredible that you met him.
I have a picture of him in here.
Do you want to pull him? Do you want to show us?
Sure. I wasn't on his lap. I was just... I'll show you. I photoshopped this right here.
Let's see here. So we'll
That's
pull it
him.
up so you can see there's Harry Truman, the man you met on the bus.
Uh-huh.
Carolyn sits on Harry's knee. I like that. Okay, so let's get back to, so you were at Washington after that, and then from Washington, where'd you go to next?
Well, no, we went from Washington to Florida, and then we went back. We just visited in Missouri briefly for my father's family,
Okay.
and then when the war was over, and that was let's see, it was started on the 7th, and after the Battle of Midway, then the war was over, and then we went to Washington. We're there in Washington. He was stationed there. He was also stationed up in Alaska, and his group was watching the coast for submarines in Alaska. But I was with my mother. At that point, my mother and myself went and lived with another mother and her 2 children in California. And I started first grade in Linwood, California. And I was 6 years old.
Okay.
And then when the war was over, then we were transferred to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And we briefly stayed in a town called Melbourne, Florida. And that's now where the Kennedy Space Center is, in that area.
Wow.
And then after that, my parents bought a home in Jacksonville, and we lived in that home.
Okay.
So I was in 2nd grade through, 2nd, 3rd grade in Jacksonville.
Okay.
But my mother was diagnosed with a disease called, just a minute. Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute.
That's okay.
Anyway, she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and it was not curable.
Mm-hmm.
She died when I was in the 4th grade. So I was in the 2nd and 3rd grade in Jacksonville, and she died when I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
Lupus.
Lupus.
That's the name of the disease, lupus, and it's not curable.
Okay.
And so then my father decided to take me and go to Pensacola and live near my grandparents. So I lived there for a year, and he was kind of not really knowing what he wanted to do because of her death. She was buried there in Pensacola. The funeral, I remember the funeral, and she was buried there in Pensacola. He was stationed at the Pensacola Naval Base, and then when we moved to Jacksonville, he was stationed there, and he used his GI Bill. He took an early out from the military. Normally, they spend 20 years before they retire, but because of her death, they gave him an early out hardship because of her death.
Okay.
And so then he used his GI Bill and went to school to become a real estate broker.
Okay.
So when I was in the 4th and 5th grade. It was when he got that training, and we left Pensacola, and this because I was not happy living away from where I was going to school in Jacksonville. So we went back. We went to back to Jacksonville. In the meantime, he was corresponding with a friend of my parents, a married couple, and he corresponded with a friend of theirs, and she was divorced and had one son 3 years younger than me. His name's Ralph, and they got married when I was let's see, how old was I was just starting junior high then. Junior high, they got married. So I had a stepmother and a stepbrother at that time, and that was quite a different change for me. And lo and behold, after my father and my stepmother got married, 1 year later they had a baby girl.
Okay.
So I have my sister. It's the first. Well, we had two sisters. Oh, I had one sister then, and then let's see how many years. About 3 years later, there was another baby that came around. So.
And did your father? Where did he settle down once he started doing real estate?
He worked at doing real estate in Pensacola and in Jacksonville, and he just did that until it ended up that he got a really good job. He was retired from the Navy. He got a real good job with it's called American Aircraft Company. He got a job with them that was related to what he did in the Navy. And we all moved to a naval base in California.
Okay.
It's called China Lake. It's a Naval Weapons Center in California. It was in the Mojave Desert, right next to Death Valley is where this naval base is. They do a lot of testing of the things that they create in that Naval Weapons Center. And when we moved there, let's see, I had finished junior high in Florida. Finished. I had 1 year of high school in Florida, and then we moved to California, and I finished my sophomore, junior, senior year in California of high school. And my brother was 3 years younger, and he was going to school, and the girls were just little girls, they were 3 to 5 years old.
Okay.
Anyway, so I graduated from high school at it's called Sherman E. Burroughs High School in China Lake, California.
Awesome.
And I graduated in 1958.
So, when you were growing up, were there any traditions or customs your family had that were special to you?
Well, we had just kind of a normal family. We ate our dinner together, and I was the oldest child now, and so I helped prepare the dinners and helped with the housework, and we celebrated the holidays, Christmas and Easter, and that's probably those are things. And we celebrated birthdays, and we like to stay close to our family, our extended family. We had some family in California that we got together with them two aunts and two uncles and their children.
Okay. Well, let's start moving on into your career and life choices here. So, what was your first job?
Okay, when I was in high school, I worked a short time at a jewelry store, and also at a five and dime store in the town that's by the Navy base. It's called Ridgecrest, California. I worked briefly, and then I got a job as a cashier at the Naval Exchange on the Navy base. And I worked, while I was in high school, I worked for until I graduated in 1958. My last 3 years of high school, I worked part-time on the naval base.
Okay. What did you learn while you worked there?
Well, it was really busy when they had Navy paydays. The people coming to shop were from one cashier all the way to the end of the building. And just I learned how to deal with customers and handle money, and it was fun. There were a lot of us my age working there.
So after high school, what did you end up doing?
Okay, I graduated in 1958. So then I went to a junior college in Bakersfield, California. It was called Bakersfield Junior College. I spent 2 years there and got my AA degree. And I was studying to be a school teacher.
Okay.
And I worked part-time in the library there. And then also, I think the next one, after 2 years, I got my AA from Bakersfield, and then I transferred to San Jose State College in San Jose, California. And I spent the next 2 years and then got my bachelor's degree in education.
Education?
Yes, and I worked part-time at a place called, let me think of it. It was okay. I gotta think straight. Anyway, it was like Disneyland, but it was the frontier part of it. It was called Frontier Village.
Okay.
It was that kind of a entertainment place where you go, and there had rides and entertainment and stuff. And I worked there, and all the workers dressed as cowboys and cowgirls.
So while you were in college, did you end up meeting any boyfriends or future partners? Or were you pretty career focused?
When I was in Bakersfield, though I went to school with the same kids I went to high school with, then they came to Bakersfield a lot. A lot of the kids would go from graduating from China Lake, and then they had a girls' dorm and a boys' dorm, and so I knew the people that I'd gone to high school with, and I had friends in that time period, and I dated in San Jose a little bit. Of her friend that was going to school in San Francisco, and another friend that was in San Jose.
Okay. And so, my last question before we move on to post-college would be, what advice would you give to somebody today just starting out in college or trying to figure out their career?
Oh, well, I enjoyed going to school. I did well in high school and graduated with honors, and I also I even got the award from the teacher that taught. He was our English teacher. It was called the Norman Young Award. I got a scholarship for teachers. It was from him. He was in one of the best teachers in the high school, and so I got a scholarship to help with my tuition, and then I also got a grant from the government. It was at the time when they were trying to get to the moon, and they were in a race with America against whoever was racing against them, and they gave a $1,000 grant if you were taking science classes that was supposed to be helping getting to the moon. So I got those two grants and scholarships when I was in college.
That's awesome. After college, what did you end up doing with your career?
Okay, I signed a contract to teach school in Southern California. I started in teaching 5th grade, and it was in Orange County, California. Garden Grove was the town where I started teaching, and there were a lot of teachers because they were building a lot of homes in that area, and they were building schools really fast and furiously. And so there were a lot of single teachers working at these schools. So I roomed with 3 other gals that were school teachers, and we had an apartment on Balboa Island in California, Southern California.
Okay.
And we taught school.
What grades did you teach?
I taught 5th grade for 3 years there.
Well, awesome. And I'll jump back to your career here in a minute, but did you end up getting married or having a life partner?
Not yet.
We'll
I got there. I got there soon.
Okay.
I actually married someone that I went to high school with.
Okay.
And he went to out of high school. He was 1 year ahead of me in school.
Okay.
So he graduated in 57, and so then he went to Brigham Young University. That 1957, 58, he went to BYU.
Okay.
And then he spent 1 year at Bakersfield when I was there. So he was in this group that I knew the people from that I'd gone to high school with. And he was one of those guys.
So how did you guys start dating then?
Well, we were good friends with a group of people, and he happened to be LDS. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was a football player. He wanted to play football. So he played the first year at BYU, and then he came to Bakersfield and played the second year when I was in Bakersfield, and he was playing football for Bakersfield Junior College, and their team were the national champion for the United States Junior College for the United States.
He must have been pretty
and
good.
he played in the Rose Bowl
Wow.
They played a team in Texas and won it like 30 something to nothing or something.
Wow.
I've got it in here, I think.
And so, what were you guys dating in college, or did you not date till later on?
We were friends, good friends.
Okay.
Not not getting ready to marry friends, but just we were friends.
Good friends.
And I actually dated one of his roommates for a while too.
Okay.
We were from the same school in California.
So when did you guys start officially dating?
Well, guess what? He played football for BYU, and then he played for Rick's College.
Okay.
No, he played for he played for Bakersfield College for 2 years, and then he, after they got the national champion, then he was recruited to Rick's College, and he played football at Rick's College, and he was all conference tackle there, because he was 6'4" and big.
Yeah.
Anyway, and because he did well at Rick's, BYU recruited him back again, and so he played. He played another year at BYU, and then he got drafted into the Army.
Okay.
And so when you get drafted, he went to training in California, Fort Ord, and then he went to Korea for 3 years.
Wow.
He served in Korea.
Okay.
But when he came home from Korea, guess what? We got married. We were friends all that time.
So you were kind of in contact.
Yeah,
So
we were good friends.
after he was back from Korea.
Now you want to see,
Yeah, let's see
Okay.
the pictures here.
catch up on this silly guy here. Yeah. This is our him and me and
This is your wedding here?
my wedding. That was in China Lake. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this. I'm gonna show this.
But
on
in the
camera here.
meantime, I took the missionary lessons. I was raised in the my Episcopal church. My mother was Episcopal
Okay.
in her family, and then I took the missionary lessons, and my husband baptized me, and then we got married, and we went to the temple in Los Angeles.
Okay. And
Then we had a baby girl.
had a baby girl. So how many kids did you guys have in total?
We had one girl, and then we were not able to have more children. We went to doctors, and we were having problems and not able to. So we put our information to adopt, and we ended up adopting 2 boys.
Okay. So you
A
had 3
boy and a girl. 2 boys.
2 boys and you had 1 girl.
Yes,
So
our daughter, the oldest, and then the one boy that was born in Payson, and the second boy was born in Chihuahua, Mexico.
wow. So when you guys got married, where did you guys end up putting your roots down to, or did you guys move around?
Well, my husband was born in Santaquin, Utah.
Okay.
And when we decided to go back and have him finish at BYU, finish his teaching, and his home that he was born in and his 3 brothers were born in lived next to his parents. They built a new house next to that old house. And he decided he wanted to fix up the old house, and we bought that house from them, and we lived there.
Okay.
And we had just had Melissa, she was going to school, and then we adopted the two boys.
Okay, and you guys.
And he was teaching. He taught school in Santaquin,
Okay.
and he also ended up teaching in Spanish Fork High School, teaching history.
Were you a teacher as well, or?
Yes. I taught in California for those times, and then when we came to Utah, I taught in Santaquin for a while, and in Payson, and then I've got to tell you this story.
Okay.
It's not all in here. We decided. Well, we had my husband had a cousin whose husband was a administrator for let me think, for international schools in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And so we checked into to see what you had to do to go and teach in Saudi Arabia, and we applied, and because we were a teaching couple, and they could put us in a house together with our family, so we became teachers in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
For 4 years.
So was that while your kids were growing up?
Yes, they went to school there too.
That's it.
Yes.
How was that?
The boys were in elementary, 8th grade, and our daughter turned 16. And in Saudi Arabia, they don't want American or other kids working or being educated in regular in our schools. The Saudis have their own schools. Mm-hmm. They don't mix the Saudis with the. There's a lot of oil companies where the families lived in Saudi Arabia, and the fathers were working in the oil company and in other jobs, and so part of our contract when she turned 16 is she was able to go to London for 2 years. And she went to a boarding school in London for 2 years.
Wow.
And then she came home and graduated from Payson High School.
Wow.
It's a little complicated.
Some pretty incredible experiences, though, that you gave your family.
I have a book to show you of all of our Arabia experience with the kids.
Any notable or scary or interesting stories that you want to share from being
when you go there, they tell you for sure what you need to not do and not get in trouble doing, and they told us, the teachers, what you can do and what you can't. And so one time my husband ran a red light.
I can't wait any longer. Neither can Barbara.
For what?
It's okay. We can.
What does she need for?
We can reschedule them later. It's okay.
Is she supposed to come here?
No, you're okay.
What are you doing her?
Yeah, I'm doing them later, but it's okay.
Well, I can go if you.
No. We're doing these, one at a time. If they don't have time today, we'll do it another.
Okay, well, I'll go fast. Anyway, he ran the red light, and the policeman, he thinks for sure the policeman was changing the light when he went through it, so that he got caught. He got, and he said they tell the workers like us, you have to have $300 in your wallet. If you get stopped, you have to pay the fee then.
Right.
So the policeman wanted his $300. And my husband says, no, I want to talk to somebody with more authority. And so he says, well, you'll go to jail. So he took him to jail and put him in a cell. And they called the school, the guy that did help with stuff like that from the school, he came, Rashid, he was worked for the school. And then our branch president, who was from Scotland, he came to help get him out of jail. And finally, my husband decided he probably paid the $300 because there were guys in there that had been in telling him, if you don't pay it, you're going to be here for 3 days. And so he decided maybe he better pay it.
Makes sense.
But it made for a good story.
Yeah. So, what values did you try and teach your children and younger generations?
Oh, well, but they needed to be honest. They needed to be worthy to go to church and learn the gospel and values of family and education, and we wanted them to be happy and do their best, and our kids have turned out well.
Well, that's good.
We've got 8 grandchildren and 1 great grandchild.
Wow.
We have 1 grandson married. Now we have a granddaughter married, but they haven't had children yet.
Okay. What major world events did you live through that had a big impact on your
Well,
life?
probably Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And then we taught in Las Vegas for 3 years, and 9/11 was the first we went back to teach in Las Vegas for 9/11.
Wow.
So we saw what was happening in the world, and even in Vegas, a lot of people lost their jobs, and there were problems for different things because of 9/11.
What was that like?
They stopped flying airplanes. We lived in a condo right next to the airport,
Mm-hmm.
and the planes just didn't take off anymore.
They just stopped.
And a lot of the workers lost their jobs, and we were told that we might lose ours because they didn't know what was going to happen next. So, but we stayed there 4 years. We finished out so we could get our Social Security and retire.
Mm-hmm. And so, what were some of your proudest moments as a parent or grandparent?
Well, I wish I'd have been lived long enough to know more about my mother. That's always been in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt gave me a letter that my mother had written to her, and said, because my mother knew she was going to die. She was ill.
Yeah.
She said she knew that she had a mission to fill, and she knew that she would be going to live with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. And my father was very honest and very patriotic. And my stepbrother, he died in Vietnam. He was a Navy pilot, and he was lost in action for 20 years.
Oh man.
And the Vietnamese government sent home his remains after 20 years. It was just bones. They had sent him to the States, and our state did DNA testing on the bones to make sure who it was. We knew for sure after 20 years that he was
gone.
dead. He was dead, and we didn't know where until they sent home boxes of remains from more than him, just other guys too.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that. That's really hard.
Yeah.
What about with your kids or grandkids? Did you have any proud moments as a parent?
Well, yeah, our girl did really well in school, and she's very athletic. She won awards in PE and homemaking and other awards. Our boys played all the football and baseball and soccer and all of those. And our daughter graduated from high school, and she ended up finishing it. She went to BYU, and then she finished up at University of Phoenix, and she now is over a department of accountants at the University of Utah Health Services.
Mm.
And our older boy is works for the Big D construction company. And he's a safety inspector. He does well. And our daughter served a mission in Canada, and our youngest boy served a mission in South Carolina.
Wow.
And Dallin got married, and his wife in the Mount Tibetos temple, and my daughter and her husband got married, and where are we? Where? Oh, we trying to remember where anyway, Payson probably, and anyway, her first husband died, and she just recently married another guy. They just got married on January 1st.
Oh, so that's awesome. Just a
Yeah,
few months
yeah,
ago.
it is, and he has children and by previous marriage, but they're doing well.
So, just a couple more questions I have to kind of help you reflect. But how have you seen society change the most since you were a kid? And what do you think about these changes?
Well, when I was a kid, it was segregation. All of the schools were segregated
By race, right?
by race. So I rode the school bus. It was white seat from the front and blacks from the back, and the water fountains, the restrooms are for whites or blacks, or and so that was until I moved to California. And then California, we had all kinds of we spent a few months in San Diego area, so there were a lot of Latino students, and so I saw a lot of changes in those kind of things, and just life in general,
So
Yes.
sounds like it's made some good changes since.
Yeah,
since
yeah,
then.
yeah. Well, if you live 84 years, you're
Gonna see society progress.
there's a few things to consider.
What about bad changes? Have you seen any society change in any ways that you hope that you don't feel have been positive?
Oh, let's see. I've gotten along pretty well with whatever situation I've been in. I don't feel like I've had any problems with dealing with the laws or with, but the joining the church is a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And losing your husband and your brother, those things make a difference. And living here is a big change.
Yep, living in Utah. What's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Do your best. Get a good education. All of our kids have been baptized, so I would want them all to be active in the church, and 2 of them serve missions, and I just would want them to be considerate of people and to take care of themselves and their families, and that's about it.
Just 2 more questions. What would you say was the happiest time of your life, and what made that so special?
Oh, goodness. Well, after my mother died, I had another mother and more siblings, and those were nice. Those were wonderful days, but they were also challenging in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have step parents and stuff. But I had a stepmother for 50 years, and she raised me when I was a teenager. So you know how life is.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a good stepmother, though.
Yeah, she was. Yes, she wasn't perfect, but I wasn't either.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and my sisters are wonderful. I have one sister that was a commander in the Navy. She lives in Oregon.
Wow.
And another sister that's over a department in college in Georgia. Good. They're good siblings.
That's
Except
wonderful.
I'm sad that my brother didn't live to be with our family.
Right.
His wife ended up being married 4 times and losing 3 husbands, dying. Can you imagine how that would be?
That's
Her first
very
husband was
tragic.
killed, and then 2 that died by illnesses.
Wow. That's
Yes.
really tragic. Well, if you had a legacy or a message to leave for future generations, what would you tell them?
Oh, follow the gospel and the Savior, and be true to your beliefs, and be happy, be help others, and be happy yourself.
All right. Well, thanks so much for doing this interview with me, Carolyn. I think I've got quite a few good stories to put together here. So, do you have any last things you want to share before we wrap up?
Well, I can show you my book on Arabia. That would be interesting.
Yeah, let's get some of those pictures.
And then
here.
I have books. We traveled a lot because when we were teaching overseas, we got to go everywhere. We went to Kenya, Africa. We went to Japan. We went to England, Scotland, everywhere.
all over the world.
Yes, everywhere.
Would you recommend to people to, while they're young or during their life, to try and get out and travel and see other cultures?
Yes. We when we were living in Xanaquin, people thought we were crazy that we were going all these places, but it was wonderful. And we have friends, good friends from all over the world, all over, everywhere.
Well, that's awesome.
And I have good friends here.
Well, let's get some photos of you with some of these pictures, if that's okay. I'll help you
Okay.
pick some of the good ones. I'll just have you hold it up here. But I want to get some of the ones of you maybe traveling or.
Okay, those are other books, so I'll have to get other books out.
Oh, you've got other ones. That's okay. Are these ones mostly your childhood here?
Yeah, that's just me growing up.
Oh, okay.
That's my mother when she died.
Right here. Oh, she was
That's how old I was when she died.
here. Why don't we get this one if you want to hold this up? So there's your mother,
Yes,
and there's picture
this
of you
one,
there.
this one.
Yeah. There's you. So I'm gonna move this so I get a picture of you as a kid with your.
You want me to turn that one over?
I got it here. Let's put it like that. There. Okay. All right. I should be able to cut the rest of